Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends. Welcome to today's webinar where we will be exploring the topic, or should I say the program, From Boys to Men, Preparing Young Men for Success. My name is Tolu Adeosho, and I'm a host here at Voice of Men 360. I'm also an assistant secretary, and for a living, I am a registered social worker. It is my great pleasure to host today's webinar. Thank you, Voice of Men 360, for providing me with this opportunity. I am really grateful to be here. We hold these weekly webinars to create awareness on topics such as this, with the hopes of sharing valuable information with our community as we believe it will be useful in some ways. Before I introduce our special guest today, I want to give you a brief introduction of Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is a nonprofit organization founded in 2020 and is based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360's organization was born out of seeing the tremendous needs of boys and men in society. So Voice of Men stepped up to support and help them in many areas of their lives. We are part of International Men's Day, which is a global organization. International Men's Day is based on 6 pillars, which has to do with the overall well-being of boys and men. It has been around for 21 years and is celebrated in nearly 90 countries around the world. And they do join together and do activities on a regular basis. As mentioned earlier, today's webinar topic is From Boys to Men, Preparing Our Young Boys for Success. And our guest speaker today is known as Mr. Willie A. Price Speaks, and he is joining us from Buffalo, New York. So he can't physically be here, but we can still have him from across the border. He is a motivational speaker and self-published author of more than 16 publications, ranging from Black history to self-awareness to real estate and property management. And he has a BA in mental health from the University at Buffalo. He became a member of the National Speakers Association, so NSA, in January 2017. He is also creator of several youth and adult workshops ranging from The Power of You to Shining Star and No Dream is Impossible. And What's Your Next Move? So these are programs that he's created. And also the Think and Grow Wealth. So these programs emphasize the importance of building self-esteem and financial literacy as participants create their roadmaps towards a successful life. So he will be covering the following areas in today's webinar: from Boys to Men program, the reason why the program is important, the areas and topics the program addresses, and a concept called Success Journals. So I would like to welcome Mr. Willie A. Price Speaks. Hello. You are muted. We can't hear you. No, you're still muted. I think you have to unmute yourself, I believe. There we go.
There we go.
Hi.
Muted. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Welcome. I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Great. I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I just want to, so where are we going? What do we want to do here? Where do we start?
So you are here and you have a program that I believe it's fairly new, right? When we were talking before we started.
Actually, the From Boys to Men program is actually the program that's going on right now has been going on for about 5 years.
Okay.
But the original program, which I started with a young lady while I was just finishing college, university, we started a program called Boys to Men, and that was in 1989.
Okay.
And so we started in 1989. This young lady, she came to my fraternity and she wanted to do something with young men to help them to become more self-aware. And so she and I sat down and we formed a group of maybe about 10 people from the community. And we ended up putting on a conference every year for about 250 boys. They would come out to this workshop conference for a full day. We provided them breakfast, lunch, all kind of entertainment. Plus we did all these various workshops from health and nutrition to drugs and alcohol to sexual awareness. And it went on for so long. And then finally, after about 6 years, the group kind of disbanded. People started going different directions, moving away, and it kind of went stagnant for a while. And then in 19, no, not 19, actually, so 5 years ago, so like 2016, 2017, I was already doing some other programs in schools called No Dream is Impossible, which is with boys and girls. I started doing that. And from there, I started to notice that there was a lot of activities, a lot of events, a lot of things going on where it was woman power, Black girls rock, everything seemed to be more moving towards focusing on the women. And I would often hear my boys talk about, well, what about us? And at that point, I started to resurface the Boys to Men program. But what I did was I changed it from Boys to Men because there was a lot of Boys to Men programs going on. And I wanted to make mine sound a little different. And plus mine was a little different.
Okay. So sorry, and thank you for that. So you pretty much started this when you were in university, correct?
Yes, right after I finished the university.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about your childhood though. Did you have issues as a boy growing up? Did you grew up in the States, I take it?
Yes, I grew up in the States.
Okay. And so when this woman approached you, this young woman who told you, let's start this thing, or I want to start something, it must have resonated with you for you to realize that I do want to start this. So tell me a little bit more about your past, your childhood, your teenage years, into how you got, and then, we kind of know how you got started with the program.
I don't think the show's going to be that long. I don't think the show's going to be that long, but I'll give you the short version.
Okay, the cold note version.
When she approached us, she actually approached the members of the president of the fraternity. And because I was a new member just joining, everyone had to do a community service. And so they assigned me to be with her to do this event. And so as a result of that's what happened. But my childhood is sort of what I apply to the program from Boys to Men. And what it is that I tell people, I'm going to teach you not how to be like me, but how to do the things that I've done to become successful in life. Because, what that included was just showing people how they could take the things that they've done or things that they're good at and use that to generate or create wealth and businesses and opportunities for yourself. So as a child growing up, I grew up single family home. My mom and dad separated when I was about 6, 7 years old, abusive relationship. We had to go live with my grandmother, and then we ended up moving into our own apartment. But the thing was, growing up, I became the man of the house at a very young age. And as a result of that, I was trying to be the man of the house. So I would go out and sell fruit at a fruit stand, wash cars, anything I could do to make money. But I was also going through problems at home because I reminded my mom of my dad. So being that, in that single family home where you've gone through seeing your father do things to your mother, and then now you finally get away from that. And now because you look like your father, you end up getting a lot of the repercussions of what went through there. So as I got to around 10, 11 years old, my mom met a guy, became my stepfather. But by 10, 11 years old, I felt I was the man of the house. And because of that, I was very rebellious to him. Every time he would say something to me, I knew how to get to him. I would say, "You're not my father." And I knew that that would hurt his feelings because I wanted to still be in that role of being like the man of the house, going out, working, doing the little things I was doing to help, get food and everything. And what he did was one day he sat me down, he made me get in the car with him. And when we got in the car, he drove to this house and he came out and he was counting his money, he put it on the seat. Then he drove to this next house and he came out and he's counting the money, put it on the seat. And then he got to like the third and fourth and fifth house and he would come out and count the money and put it on the seat. And I'm, like I said, 10, 11 years old, I'm looking at all this money because he knew that I was always trying to do things to make money. And I finally said to him, I said, "Where are you getting all this money from?" And he said, "Those houses that you saw me come out of, I buy them at auctions, I fix them up, and people pay me to live in them." He became my best friend that day because he had something that I wanted, something that I knew, he knew that would get my attention, being able to make money like he did. And, that's what it is, a mentor. He became my mentor. And so that's what we do in our program is we show young men that you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can find someone who's doing things that you're interested in and allow them to become your mentor. Ask them to become your mentor and let them teach you, so that way you don't make all the mistakes that they've made in life. So as I got older, he died before I bought my first home. But by the time I started buying properties, I ended up buying 20 properties in the city of Buffalo. And one of the things he always told me, he said, you'll learn to make more money and save more money when you don't have to always pay people to do all the work. And so again, a person wanting to make money, generate wealth and all those kind of things, I wasn't the best student in school. Mind you, I wasn't a good reader. I wasn't a good writer. I didn't really learn. He encouraged me to go to college. But at the time when I went to college, I could read. I wasn't a good writer. I was pretty good at math, but I went to college and learned how to read and write better by my Chinese roommates. And people say, well, how'd you learn through your Chinese roommates? If you think about it, when a lot of foreign students come to US, they can barely speak English, and we're wondering, how are they getting such good grades? And they showed me how they learned to prepare for coming to America to read and write. And they taught me that, and my grades went from C's and D's to A's and B's. And I used that to write my books. That's how I ended up becoming a writer, because once they showed me how to do that, my grades went up, I graduated, I bought these properties. But again, like I said, I was a person that didn't really like school, but my stepfather said, you'll learn to save money and make more money when you don't have to pay people to do the things that need to be done. So I ended up going back to school, vocational school, and I learned to do carpentry. Then I went back to vocational school to do electrical. Then I went back to vocational school to do plumbing and heating. So I started to learn all these skills. And as a result of that, I was able to do more of my own work, which means I didn't have to pay anybody. People came to me and started saying, well, I know you know about houses and you know how to do this. Can you help me maintain my properties? So I began and started a property management company, went to school and became a property manager. And then people came to me and said, hey, I know you know all these things about property. We're going to buy a house. Can you come and help us look at this house that we're looking at buying? Man, there could be a way I can make money doing this. I went to school and became a home inspector. Now, I'm a person, like I said, a person that hated school, but I found that I kept going back to school. So I became a home inspector, started a property inspection company, had a property management company, had all my real estate, and I was doing all these things. But like I said, I kept looking at the fact that I wanted to do something in the community to give back to the community, working with young people, things like that. And one of the things I enjoyed doing was writing about Black history, because one of the things I found is when I graduated from college, I went back as a substitute teacher. And the school that I went back to was my old high school. That was the first school I went to. And it was the month of February, Black History Month. And I noticed that they were doing the same people, talking about the same people then, 10 years after I graduated, that they were talking about when I was in middle school and high school. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, the same people they talk about today. And I kept saying, wow, there's more people that have done things in Black society than just those people. So I started writing an article for the local paper called The Challenger. I started writing an article called This Week in Black History, where every week I would write Black history events and put them in the paper. So this way young people could see that we have done more than in the month of February. And as a result of that, I ended up going to a conference because I started to do some speaking, some workshops and things like that. And I ended up going to a conference where I met George Fraser. He had this event called the Power Networking Conference. And I went there and I met George Fraser, who introduced me to Les Brown. Les Brown and I became very good friends. And Les asked me, he said, so what do you want to do, Willie? What is it you're looking at doing with yourself? And I said, well, I want to write books about real estate because that's what I was into. He said, well, what's stopping you? I said, I just don't know how to get started. I've never written a book that, kind of thing. He said, well, what do you like to write about? I said, well, I like writing about Black history because I like to show young people that Black history is not just in the month of February. He said, so why don't you write a book about Black history first to help you get started? And that next year, I presented him with the first edition of This Week in Black History. This is actually the 4th edition of that book. I've ended up writing that book, adding more history to it as I went along and bringing the history more current. So it goes all the way up to 2013. That was the last year that I wrote this. This was from 2013. But I ended up writing that book, but then it allowed me during that time to write the real estate books that I was doing. So I ended up writing 9 real estate books, from property management to maintenance to inspections, how to buy a home, all those kind of things. But it still bothered me that I was not doing what I wanted to do with young people. And I would get young people with me and I would, show them how to do things, how to work on houses, how to buy houses. But it was 1 or 2 kids periodically. But when I moved to Niagara Falls, which is where I live right now, I got involved in the Niagara Falls High School. And I started a program called No Dream is Impossible, where I was working with young people, both boys and girls, showing them how they could take their dreams, thoughts, and ideas and become successful. And that program resulted from a situation in 2011 when I fell 25 feet from the top of a roof, shattered my left ankle, broke all the bones in my right foot. The doctor said I would never walk again, that I should be dead or totally paralyzed. At that point, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to prove them wrong? Because when the doctor said he was going to take me into surgery to take my left ankle out and put these rods and screws and everything in it, that I would never, ever walk again, the first thing I said to him, okay, well, I know I'll never walk again, but how long before I can go to track practice? Because I run track and field. And he looked at me and said, didn't you hear what he said? You'll never walk again. And I said, I understand. I don't care about walking, but I need to go to track practice. And so that motivated me. And that's how the program No Dream is Impossible came about, because I never dreamed that I would never be able to walk again, but I always dreamed that I would be able to run again. So I did all the things, exercises, toe raises, knee lifts, all the things I used to do for track practice, I started doing with casts up to my knees on both legs. 3 months later, I walked into the doctor's office. 4 months after that, I ran my first mile. And I actually competed in 2017 at the Ontario Masters Track and Field Championships in Toronto, where you guys are located at York University. And I have a lot of friends there. So I just took the things that were a part of my life, and I said, you know what? I need to show young people that they can do anything that they set their minds to do. Because I found that, like, when I was growing up, teachers was telling me, because I wasn't a good reader and writer, oh, Willie, don't go to college. You're not good enough for college. Go to the Army, go to Navy, get a job. And I said, I wonder how many kids they told that believed it, because they were an adult. I'm going to believe this person because they know better than I know. But when a person knows themselves, like I knew myself, and I knew what my stepfather told me. So I believed that I could go to college. I believed that I could get a degree. I believed that I could start a business. I believed that I can buy real estate. I could believe I could do all these things. I believed because I believed and understood what my skills were. So I started working with young people doing that. And that's how the Boys to Men from Boys to Men came about, where I started working with young men. We do physical, personal, and financial development. And with the physical is hygiene, nutrition, those kind of things. And then the personal is understanding your you. And I do a program on that called Understanding Your You. And it's all about the 4 W's to success, understanding who you are, where you're trying to go, what is it going to take for you to get there, and then why are you willing to commit to it? And the first 3, who, where, what, those are good, because that's you're setting your goal and your roadmap of understanding who you are, where you're trying to go, what's it going to take for you to get there. But the key is helping them to understand why they want to commit to that goal. And when they understand that why, no matter how hard that goal gets, we always go back to say, well, it's getting hard. I don't want to do it anymore. I said, well, why did you start it in the first place? Why did you want to do it? And see, when they start thinking about why they want to do it, then now let's look at, okay, what can we do differently to help you to achieve that goal? And so that helped the program to really get going and formulated. But what made the program different is that when I said we do physical, personal, and financial, the financial part is what stands out for my program. We do entrepreneurship. We teach them how to take their thoughts, dreams, ideas, things that they enjoy doing, and showing them how they can make money doing the things that they enjoy doing. Because people always tell you, when it's something you do and you enjoy it, it's not work. Mm-hmm. And so if you can show them how they can make money doing things that they enjoy doing, then they can do it all the time. And they have no interest, or they'll reduce the interest of wanting to hang out in the streets, rob, steal, sell drugs, because that's what they see. You know, you tell people surround yourself with better, but then you're surrounded with drug dealers and all kinds of situations. So the only better they see is somebody who's making money doing something that's going to put them in a bad situation. Mm-hmm. So we do entrepreneurship, introduction to the real estate. This year in the program, we started introduction to franchises. So we show them introductions to franchises and how, for as little as $5,000 to $10,000, they can start a franchise. So if instead of just starting their own business, if they don't have that full business mindset, franchising, which again, a lot of our young people are not introduced to. Then we do introduction to real estate, which is not just buying a house, but what did I tell you? Property management, property maintenance, selling real estate, all these things that you can show them where you don't have to have a degree to sell real estate. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a degree to start a property maintenance company where you're cutting lawns or, cleaning out basements, things that you might want to do to make money, especially as a young kid. They can go out and cut lawns, or they can help someone clean out a basement, using those things to make money. And then the final part of our program, like I said, is financial, is we do introduction to the stock market. And when you can show a kid, instead of having to go buy a pair of Nikes, you show them how to buy Nike stock and let Nike buy them some Nikes. It gives them a whole different mindset on the things that they can do and the ways that they can make money. So now you show a kid, like I said, we start at 5th grade. Our program goes from 5th grade all the way up to seniors in high school. So at 5th grade, you're showing the kid that they can do these things. So now you're showing them entrepreneurship, franchises, anything in real estate, dealing with real estate, and then investing in the stock market. You got 4 different ways you can make money, generate money for yourself without having to turn to the streets. And that's why we say preparing young men for success and not the streets is our motto for our program, because we're trying to we want you to have no excuse for having to turn to the streets to do anything other than to cross it. So, so that's our mindset. So that's about it right there. So I know I can go on. I told you, my name is Willie A. Price Speaks.
Well,
so
I was going to say, you really do embody your name. No, it's been good. No, you know what? I honestly, listening to you, I can see how passionate you are. I can see how this really means something to you. I heard a lot. I heard you talking about having a role model or mentor. I heard how you took on you owned the fact that you needed a man in the household, and so you became that man at a young age. You recognize that, but you were trying to make money, and it sounded like you were trying to make money the legitimate way. But if your stepfather had never come in the picture, eventually you may have turned down a path that would have been not so good. Right. And then he taught you. He showed you, hey, this is what you can do. And he showed you the world of real estate. And because you were trying to make money, you were trying to do something, you were trying to be something, you lapped that up and you recognized that, hey, this is something and it's legit and it's successful. And from there, you turned it into, you built this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an enterprise for all these young men, and I'm sure young ladies as well, to realize that, hey, I don't have to turn to the streets. I don't have to follow the path of, A, B, and C. I don't have to do all this. There are ways to get out of to break the poverty cycle, to become something, and to make myself, feel that I have something to look forward to. I have something of worth. There is something, I can do. especially when, like you said, that the school system may try to tell them, oh, you shouldn't go to college, you're better off at this. And then you even showed, you said you struggle with education, you struggle with reading, writing, all those things. You learned and you overcame, and then the very area you struggled in, you started to, and in fact, like, operate in that area. You started to write books, you started to speak, and I mean, it's just like, honestly, I'm just sitting here, I could listen to you speak forever. So this is probably why you are Willie A. Price Speaks, because you are a very engaging speaker and you have a lot to say.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I have some questions for you now. So I was really trying to listen, trying to get, I liked what you said about the 4 W's, so that people can always go back to what am I trying to do? What is motivating me? And then keep going, right? Because sometimes you do lose your purpose, and you sometimes, get distracted or get discouraged. And so I love that your program is built around trying to keep people on track, to not lose track of their goal and their purpose.
And that's
really good.
That's Pardon? What we did was that, and the book for that, like I said, I've got a book for everything. So the book for that was No Dream is Impossible, the 4 W's to a Successful Life. And I ended up writing that book because of that program. And then the same thing, I'm gonna let you get to your question. I just went real quickly on those. And then this year, we actually put together the books for the Boys to Men program. This is the high school edition. And then this is the middle school edition. So what we did was we created.
Can you show that one, the last one again? Is it the same title?
It's from Boys to Men Success Journal, but this is the middle school edition. And then this one is actually the high school edition. And it'll tell you like grade 8 to 12. And what it was I started the middle school because that's primarily what I was working with. But then I interviewed with the school district that wanted me to work with high school kids. And they were asking me all these questions about the journal, whether it had these things regarding high school, going to college, sexual awareness, all those kind of things. And I was like, well, no, it's more middle school, it's more middle school. But I was writing notes. So by the time I got off the Zoom interview with them, I started writing this book. I started writing this book in October, and it came out in January. I just got this in January. So this one just came out. This one came out in September.
Okay, so it's a when you call it a success journal, but it's an actual book. But is there places that they can write stuff to? Yeah,
all my books, and that's one of the things. All my books are where you can write in them. And so what the success journal is, it's the activities that we do in the program. What I found during this pandemic, because I wrote these during the pandemic, because I said when we do activities with the kids or the young men, the next week we're doing something else. The next week we're doing something else. And as a result of that, they kind of forget what we did the previous week or, some of the activities. So what I did was I created it based on the activities that we do. So this way, when we do the activity, I tell them what page it's on. They can go in, they can write notes because there's notes after each section. And then there's a whole full 70 pages in the back of just journal pages where they can write dreams, thoughts, ideas, things they want to work on, which allows them to not only work on the things that we did in the class, but write down some thoughts and ideas of their own, as well as we have what is called, you ever heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich? Well, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, you need to read that book. Okay. That's one of the things we use for our kids in the program. But he has what is called an affirmation, where you write down what the goal is, when you plan to achieve it, what is it going to take for you to get that goal achieved? And then we also put why in our affirmation. So we create this affirmation with a couple of those in the book. So this way kids can write down, remember your 4 W's. Who are you? Where are you trying to go? What is the goal? What is it going to take for you to get there? Why do you want to achieve it? And then you have this affirmation at the bottom that says, I will achieve this goal. It gives you a whole set of, I will achieve this goal. I believe I can do it by a certain date, and it goes through the whole affirmation for the kids. And so that way they're not just writing it down, but they're actually reading it every day and reminding themselves why they're doing the things that they want to do.
Awesome. And so I like it because it's a one-stop shop. Everything's in there. The journal's there for them to actually write and so they can see what it is that they're working towards. But then the book, there's the aspect which has the book that allows them to kind of go back to, okay, this is what I need to remember. This is what it's going to take for me to do this thing. So that's really good. I do believe there was a question. Sivan, can you help me read that question? Someone had a question about if it was available somewhere in the US.
Amazon.com.
Okay. So wait, though, can you just do the book on its own, or does it have to be part of the program?
You can do the book on its own because it basically walks you through the activities. But what I've been trying to do is set up where I would set up a Facebook page or some type of page where I would come on once a week and do different presentations from the book. And then they can just go to that page and review it, leave questions and things like that. So I'm working on that now. I've been so busy with the program itself, but that's something I do have the page set up. The Facebook page is called From Boys to Men Success Journal page. And so I just have to make it where people can join it. And once they join it, they can go, the young men can go in. And like I said, I'm posting videos, different activities and things that they can do to become, just work on the things in the book, as well as post ideas and thoughts and different things like that.
Okay. I do believe Kim had a question. What is available for elementary kids? Because you're talking about middle school, high school. Do you have anything available for elementary kids?
We do 5th grade and up, grade 5 and up. And the reason why we do grade 5 and up, once you get below that, it's really hard to work with them. Because remember, we're doing a lot of reading, we're doing math, we're talking about real estate, even though it's introduction, real estate, introduction business, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grader, 8, 9-year-old, it's kind of difficult for them. So I found that because we actually started at 7th and 8th grade. And one school that we were at when we first started said, well, can you do 6th graders? And then we went to another school and they said, well, can you do 5th graders? And then they did actually ask us to go grade 4. And we're like, 5th was hard enough, because once we got at 5th grade, they were really struggling with some of the activities. So we had to, that's why I ended up making, like I said, just a middle school book at first, because I wanted to focus. I knew I couldn't make it middle school to high school book because it's not going to be suitable for the older kids. So it was more stuff suitable for young kids. And so that's what I did with the first one. And then I created the high school one, which is more of the high school level going into college. We do a lot of financial stuff, how to do savings, 10% of your earnings, whatever you get, taking it and putting it in something to save your money. And we do like a little thing where we get a shoebox. Like I just did this past week in our class week. I'm doing a program where we do a financial, we tell the kids, get a shoebox, cut a slit in the top, tape it up, and then every time you get some money, you put 10%, at least 10% in that shoebox. And then you set a date when you want to open it. So every 6 months or for Christmas, or for summer, for, when you go away for vacation, whatever, and then open it up and see how much you have saved. And then that allows them to start learning how to save. Because if you say, okay, get a bank account or open up a savings account, by the time that money gets to the savings account, it's gone. But if you have a shoebox that you have taped up, that you keep under your bed or in the closet, it's easy access, but because you have it taped up, you don't always open it up. And I tell them to keep it in the closet so that way you don't get it and shake it up and constantly checking to see how much money you have, because we get tempted. You know how that is. We all get tempted. So that's what I just did that this week with the kids. And we also give out hygiene kits to young men. So we did hygiene kits and we did the shoebox with the savings, teaching them how to save that way. And the hygiene kits had toothpaste, toothbrush, combs, deodorant, body wash, lotion. It's a full kit. So, I mean, like I said, I try to cover everything in the program that, again, preparing young men for success.
Right. Is there a cost to your programs? Like I know, aside from the books, which you said are available on Amazon, but is there a cost to enrolling? Like you're mentioning hygiene kits, like are people having to pay for that, or is that free, or what? How does that work?
My programs are normally sponsored by, I do several different ways I raise money. Or one way is I get sponsors to sponsor the books. So they sponsor, you pay a certain amount or make a certain amount of donation. And then we put labels on the back of the books with saying who sponsored the book. And then we can give them out to the young men.
Okay.
And then I have organizations and school districts that sponsor me. So right now we're sponsored in 2 schools here in Niagara Falls with 7th and 8th grade boys. And so I give them a price. We're doing 2 6-week programs. No, two 8-week programs. No programs 8 weeks. We used to do 10 weeks. 10 weeks got a little long. So we're doing 2 8-week programs, and they pay, we tell them the price for the 8 weeks, and that includes the workbooks and the hygiene kits. So that's all, everything is covered. So the kids don't pay for anything.
Okay. Okay, good. And so these are they being done virtually right now, or are they being done in person?
These are in person.
Okay.
They're in person, but that's why I wanted to set up the Facebook group, because that will allow me to reach more kids all over the country. You know, if they have the book, then they can go into the Facebook group and I can do weekly activities in there, and they can go back and watch the videos or watch the Zoom presentations, and we do we do raffles, participation raffles. So we do activities, and then the kids do the activity, and then they get their name put into a raffle, and we draw the raffle, and they win prizes. So we do a lot of different motivational things that help these kids to stay motivated to take part and want to feel excited about being a part of the program.
And to complete it too, correct?
Yes.
So
we don't have any dropouts. We haven't had any dropouts yet.
That's great. So can I ask you a question? So you're in the States. This program sounds like it's kind of like focused more, and I mean, you're now trying to do a virtual outreach, but it still sounds like it's for Americans in America. What about us in Canada, right? You mentioning even the raffle. I can't, I'm not a boy, but if I was, why would I join the program if I can't win anything all the way in Canada?
But you can win something. You can win something, and the way you can win is because when we do the raffle, then we mail you the prize. We mail you the prize. But when you speak about Canada, like I'm doing your show today, I will be a workshop presenter, boys to men, working with right brain boys. I'll be doing that at the Ontario National Alliance of Black School Educators Conference, which is next month in April. I told you, I love Toronto. So I'm always in Toronto. I've been working with, I don't know if you know Warren Salmon. You don't know Warren? Okay, a lot of people know Warren. He's a part of school programs up in the Ontario area. And so he invited me down 2 years ago to the conference and met with people there. And I was telling them about my programs, and they invited me to be a workshop presenter last year, but because of the pandemic, everything got shut down. So they contacted me and asked me would I be willing to do a virtual workshop this April. So I will be doing some things. And again, like I said, my goal is to make this national. So what we're working on is trying to show where we can maybe even get with school districts and teach them how to run the program. And they use our books, and we give them like a curriculum for it. And they contract to use my program, because I can't be everywhere. Right. But if I can show you how to present it, how to work with the boys and do the things that we're doing, then we can reach a lot more young men and and it could be with young ladies too. You know, because I've even used these books with young ladies, because like I said, we're doing physical, personal hygiene, you know, so hygiene is hygiene. It's just, you know, for young ladies, they know, you know, what they need to know. And exactly. So we do the difference, but financial is the same. Understanding who you are is all about you. So it could be of male or female. So I've used this over the summer. I volunteered to do a workshop because we had books donated. So I gave out about 20 books at a community center, and it was both boys and girls. And I conducted some workshops there using the workbooks. So I mean,
that's good it's good to know. And I'm glad to hear that you are starting to come into Canada and work with local school boards and everything.
But if there's somebody in Canada that wants me to, or they have an organization or something, reach out to me and let's see how we can make some things happen. Because like I said, I want to do this everywhere. I know young men and young ladies, you know, so we could do the No Dream is Impossible. or we can do the boys and men, or we can do both. It doesn't matter. You know, my goal is to try to prepare young people for success, not the streets. So it can be young men or young ladies.
No, it sounds like a really good program, and I'm glad that you are out there doing that. If anything to help people to stay off the streets and to be successful, you know, it's great. So let me ask you a question, because what do you find to be the most common issues that young boys and young adult males face?
Self-esteem.
Okay, can you?
Self-esteem and self-awareness. A lot of
Mhm.
times you'll ask a young man, so tell me, just like you ask an adult in an interview and they're not good with interview skills. You say, so tell me about yourself. Who are you? And the first thing they say, well, my name is, and then from there, they're trying to figure out the rest of it. When you work with young men, you say, so tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what do you like to do, and why you like to do it. So now you've given them that roadmap. Okay, so who am I? So who am I? My name is Willie A. Price. I'm a speaker. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I love to write. I love to work with young people. So again, understanding who you are. Then, you know, who are you? Where are you trying to go? What's it going to take for you to get there? And then why? So why do you like doing those things? So that every week in our program, we do public speaking. That's part of the program every week. And the kids hate it at first because they're thinking they're just going to have to get up and talk about something. But everything we ask them is about themselves. So, you know, we talked about savings this week. So tell us something that you want to say. First, tell us your name, what grade you're in, what is it that you want to save up for, how much is it going to cost, and why do you want it? Now, those are questions that they should know if it's something that they want. See, so again, you're getting them to think about things that they want, and then you keep adding. Every week we do different questions like that, where it's things that about them, you know. Well, what do you want to do after you finish? What do you want to do for the summer? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Is it going to cost you to do that? And why do you want to do that? And then again, they're answering the question because it's all about them. But what it does is they're telling you about themselves. If they're thinking about the things, and then they're getting used to public speaking. Because as they're speaking, I'm working on it. You can't be leaning. You can't have your hands in your pocket. I'm a member of Toastmasters. So I do all the things in Toastmasters that we do. I do that with the young men in the program. So again, we're working on public speaking. We're working on personal hygiene. We're working on nutrition. We're working on finance. Like I said, we work on every week. We do all three subjects, and it allows them to grow every week. They're getting a little better. And then one of the main things we do is respect, because again, self-esteem and self-awareness means that you have to not only be understanding of yourself, but you also have to know how to win people over. So we do what is called winning ways. Tell me one action you can do to win a person over without saying a word. Smile. If you notice, most of our young men don't smile, because when they smile, their friends think what? Oh, you're soft, you're easy, you're a punk, all these kind of things. So young men walk around with a frown on their face. But then when they walk into a room around people who don't know them, primarily Black and older Blacks and older white people, they see them with this frown on their face, and their first impression is they're trouble, they're mean, they're angry, they're upset about something. So showing them how to smile, and not with a big smile on your face, but having them get up in the morning. And I always say, get up in the morning and look in the mirror and smile, and practice your smile, because you don't want to look like a crazy man smile, but you want to be able to smile at a person and feel comfortable. Because when you walk into a room at an event and you don't know anybody and you look around the room, you're looking for that table that's going to have someone looking at you like welcoming with a smile. You're not going to go sit at the table where everybody frowning like, what's he coming over here for? So we talk about that. And then we do, what are two different words you can use to win people over? Please and thank you. Please and thank you. So we work on that every day. And the teachers know they are supposed to be saying, when someone does something, they please and thank you. They're using it all day in school. So now that, again, because when that kid walks into that room and that kid's been walking around with that frown on his face, now he's smiling, he's saying please and thank you, the teacher is more willing to help him, because they see a behavior change and they see an attitude change, and they see that that young man is now more approachable. And so those are the things that we do with, like I said, we do so much with them that it's, you know, it's just crazy, but we do that every week. You know, we go through those three winning ways, and then we tell them, I'm checking with the teachers, I'm checking with the principal, I'm checking with your counselor. And then I also have them come in. How many of you guys said please today? How many guys smiled at someone today? How many people said thank you today? You know, have you said thank you at home? You know, and tell us what happened, why did you say it, or who did you say it to? So again, we're working on their public speaking again. So we take everything and we combine it all together. So even when we're working on public speaking, they don't even realize it sometimes because they're just talking about what they did, who they are, the things that are going on with them. And when it's easy for them to talk about themselves, then they're more confident when they stand up and talk in front of the class. If they have to read something or give a presentation, they feel more confident about it because they've been used to speaking now.
Okay, thank you. So your program, we've talked a lot about boys, about young men, like teenagers. What about men? First of all, how does your program actually help men? But also, what are the common issues that you see that men face?
A lot of the same things. A lot of the same things. One of the things, and one of the things that we found, even with the young men and the men, one of the activities that we found is universal for a lot of men was tying ties. We bring in ties, we get ties donated, and we bring in ties, and young men get excited about tying a tie. High school boys get excited about tying a tie. We've even had some men come in and they were excited about tying tie, learn how to tie a tie, as well as helping the young men learn how to tie ties. So that was, I mean, just that basic a situation, you would think, oh, tie a tie, that should be easy. But a lot of people don't know how to tie a tie, especially young boys, this era, you know, the young men that you have now, they don't have a lot of men. Everybody's wearing t-shirts, you know, collar, you know, polo shirts or mostly t-shirts, those kind of things, the people that they're surrounded by. So learning how to tie a tie, how to dress properly, you know, those kind of things, they're not being taught. So that way, as they get older, how to present themselves. We also do, like I said, hygiene. There are a lot of grown men that don't know all the things about hygiene. Personal development, understanding who you are. You know, who are you? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go in life? Where have you been in life? You know, because right now they're at a standpoint where they may be at a certain point in life and think they can't go any further. But then that's when you help them to understand, okay, so what are you good at? What do you like to do? And let's see how we can take what you like to do and show you how to create a business doing that. So now you've got their interest, because it's not, let me show you how to do real estate like me, or, you know, manage properties like me. But let's take it and find out what you like to do and see how we can help you to make money doing something you enjoy doing. So now it's all about them. And when you do that, again, you win them over as well. Like I said, we work with adults, we work with kids, we work with young ladies. It works for everybody because it's nothing that is focused on one particular group. It's something that you can use with any group. It's just that it seems that most of my sponsors focus on middle school and high school kids, mostly middle school kids, as a matter of fact. But with, like I said, finances, you have a lot of adults that, and I do a program called Think and Grow Wealth. Like I said, I create a lot of programs. I have a program called Think and Grow Wealth, and that's all about financial literacy. And I do that with youth and adults, and I've done adult programs. You know, you have people with 8 credit cards. Why do you need 8 credit cards? Why do you need 8 credit cards? I met people with 8 and 10 credit cards. I don't have 1 credit card. I haven't had a credit card in over 20 years. And then I also tell people I don't have a credit score. And people say, well, how do you not have a credit score? But that's a whole nother story. But again, because I pay everything cash and I do everything, I have no debts, I have no car notes, I have no mortgages. Remember, I had 20 properties. I only had 1 mortgage out of 20 houses. Everything else I paid cash. So because of that, I have no credit score because they have nothing to base my credit on.
You're not borrowing anything.
Right. So when they put in my name and my social security number, it comes up as an error. because I have no credit score, but I have no credit cards, I have no mortgages, no car notes, I have no debt. And so I'm not teaching you how to have no debt like me, but I'm teaching you how to get as little debt as possible. So if you make $1,000 or $1,500 a month, and now you got your bills down to where you're only paying $700-800 a month, now that means you got $700 a month that you can save. That's $8,400 a year. And then that next year, another $8,400 a year. So now you're at $16,000 in 2 years. You have no reason to have a bunch of debt. You don't need a credit card. And so that's the kind of things I teach adults. So, I mean, like I said,
no, and that's good. But I see what you're saying. The root. So by the time men are coming through your program, it's because they've never had a program like yours growing up. They didn't know these things. Whereas what you're trying to prevent is having to start to teach this as an adult, because you're starting from the middle school age and the high school age. So and it makes complete sense. So thank you. And I can see how you like a lot of the same problem. It would be the same problem because they may have not learned some of these skills or some of these ways as they were growing up. Now,
as they get older, the skill, they just get worse. You know what I mean? The problem gets worse because as they get older, they get more financial debt. Their hygiene is, because they haven't taken care of their body in so long, their body is starting to have effects. Their personality is changing or has gotten worse because they didn't learn certain behaviors as they were growing up. So that's why we start out at a younger age. So that way, as they get older, they've already got some of the skills in place. Whereas as an adult, we're setting our ways,
Right. And it takes a lot to change.
A lot, because they don't want to give up those habits. A lot of times they don't want to give up those habits.
Right. So can you just give us, our time is almost up, but can you give us an example of someone with a success story as one of your graduates from your program, any of your programs, sorry. Would you like to share a story with us?
Oh, man. Like I said, I always say they're all success to me because I look at our young men and we have I'll tell people, if you go to WKBW Boys to Men and you look up that video, and I don't have the link in front of me, but if you look up that video, you hear 5 young men because the news channel came out and did a story on the program in 2018. And it talked about these young men who took part in this program. And the one young man, he always brings to mind, his name is, I won't give his name, but he talked about, he said, before I joined the program, I was always getting suspended. I had family that was in and out of jail. I was always getting in trouble at school. I was always fighting. But then once I joined the program, I wasn't getting in trouble as much. I wasn't, being around those people in my family that were going to jail, and then his grades got better. Teachers were coming to us saying how much better his behavior was. And so that's the kind of success story that we've had, that the fact that a lot of these young men have those emotional problems because they're angry. Like I said, they're not only looking angry and not smiling, but they're angry because they've been through so much as a young man, especially in a single parent household where the mother may be the head of household. And so now there's so much pressure on them, they're trying to be a man in a boy's body. So there's so much pressure on them. So when they come to school, they're so frustrated and aggravated that they act out. And then the first thing the teachers say, well, he's angry, he's got discipline problems. So the first thing they want to do is put him in a special class or put him out the classroom period and suspend him. And like I said, most of our young men, that's what we hear. So like I said, they're all success stories because that's what we hear all the time, is that how they were, having problems. They were getting suspended. They were arguing. They were fighting. They were, I had one kid that, and it shocked me the way he said it. He actually was talking about how he stomped on a kid's head in the classroom and the teachers didn't know what to do with him. And when he came into the program, they came to us later and saying how much better his behavior was, how much more he was participating, and how more active and how vocal he was. Because a lot of times they don't know how to vocalize what's going on with them. So when they get angry, the first thing they want to do is they want to hit. because they don't know how to express what's going on with them or express that they're upset. So learning how to control their anger and emotions and express it verbally. That's why we do the public speaking with them. So that way they can say, you know, well, what's wrong? You know, and then they can express why they're doing the things that they're doing. Because a lot of times they'll do something, you say, why'd you do that? I don't know. They know, but they just don't know how to say it, or they don't want to say it because they feel funny about saying that, you know, well, I didn't get to eat last night, or my mom, you know, her boyfriend did something. So, you know, they have all these things bottled up in them. So allowing them to become more vocal, more be able to express themselves, understand who they are, and talk about, you know, with confidence. That's so, like I said, for all my young men, that's the success, showing that they've been able to move on from those stressors and gotten better in life, you know, and feel better and confident, more confident about themselves.
That's great.
They're all success stories to me.
No, that's great. And it does sound like it's a really wonderful program. So if you wouldn't mind, can you just remind us once again how the audience can reach your program, whether it's by Facebook? Can you say the name of the Facebook page again? Is there a website they can reach you? Is there an email address? Can you just share that with us before?
Everything is very easy. Willie A. Price Speaks. That's my WillieAPriceSpeaks.com. That's my website. Willie A. Price Speaks is my Facebook, and WillieAPrice@AOL.com is my email right now. I'm going to change the email later, but I'm going to keep that one going for a while.
I was going to say, isn't that an old one?
Yes, very old.
Back in the 90s or something?
I'm trying to leave my Facebook, my AOL alone. I get that a lot too. People say AOL, not a Gmail. I do have a Gmail. I do have a Gmail, but I never check it.
Okay, we didn't have AOL in Canada, but I remember hearing it when you see the commercial from the States. So
yes, like, okay. I still have an AOL account, but I am linking up a email to my website. But I'm just so used to using the AOL account that that's what's there. But that's the best way to reach me. You go on my Facebook page. Yes. So if you go Willie A. Price Speaks, LinkedIn or Instagram, it's all the same. I try to keep it one-stop shop.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any more questions from the audience? Whether it's the face. Oh yeah, Mr. Gibson.
You unmute the person. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much, Willie. You're doing a fantastic job, and it's nice to see young people out there being encouraged the way you've gone across to make that happen. I just wanted to ask you. In high school, I'm not exactly sure what the curriculum is, but I think two critical areas to be addressed would be financial literacy and civics. Now, I know you mentioned some ways about dealing with financial issues for young people, but what about civics? What about your rights and responsibilities as a citizen? And also, how do you go about determining who is the best candidate in an election? I think those are critical areas that should start around the high school time, so young people would have a better way of addressing these critical issues.
Okay. So now in the schools, they don't do financial literacy. In the schools, they don't do financial literacy. And as far as civics, but in my programs, we do financial literacy. And that's why we do it. You know, so we do financial literacy, different aspects of financial savings, how to open a savings account, checking account, how to save money, how to pay bills, all those kind of things we talk about. Then as far as the civics go, I have in the book, again, that's why I created this book, because we do so, as you can see, we do so much for a kid to try to remember everything we did the previous week would drive them crazy. So what we did was we created the book so that way, as far as the civics part, we have a section in the book which talks about laws that young people should know, that teenagers should know. So this way it makes them aware of sexual awareness. We have those kind of activities. Now, we don't do a lot of political stuff because I wanted the book to be able to be served for everybody politics are different no matter where you go, you know, different states, different countries. So we didn't really go into a lot of political stuff, but finances is basically finances. You know, laws, general laws are basically the same. Certain things you can and cannot do. So getting them to be more aware of what's law, you know, a lot of times, you know, and one of the things I talk to my boys about as far as like laws, we do a lot of things with sexual awareness. So we talk about laws, like big thing with teenagers is sexting. And you have kids sending pictures to each other. And a lot of times when I'm with my high school kids, you got what? Juniors, seniors, you know, 12, 11, 12th graders. And you got these freshmen, 13, 14-year-olds coming to the school. And this older guy wants to be their little boyfriend, of course, because they want to get the young girl. And they say, what? Send me a picture. And the girl sends them a picture and send them more pictures. And these pictures are erotic, you know, different types of pictures. But what has they just done? Transporting pornography, right? And they don't realize that. When I tell my young men that, especially my older young men, that that's what that is, you should see how many of them pull out their phones and start deleting pictures. Because it's something that they do, not realizing, well, that's just my girlfriend. But you know, your girlfriend is 14, 15 years old and you're 17, 18 years old. And they don't look at it that way, but that's what it is. So just things like that, making them aware of, you have ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And that's what we tell them, because that's what I've always heard growing up. You know, I have friends that are police officers and they tell us, ignorance of the law, that's how they get you, because you don't know you can do things that can get you arrested or get you pulled over. Like I tell my students, when you're starting to drive, 16 years old, a lot of them, they're 16, 17 years old, and they get their little tassels from graduation, they hang them on the rear view mirror when they're driving, or the air fresheners. The police can pull you over because it's called obstructive vision. How many people knew that? A lot of people don't know that. And so now you're driving down the street, minding your own business, and the police pull you over. Why'd you pull me over? Well, you have obstructive vision. Obstructive vision. What do you mean I have obstructive vision? Because you have that tassel from your high school graduation hanging down from your mirror. That's obstructive vision. Now that gives them a reason to pull you over. And now what do? Now they can harass you. They can ask you, you know what I mean? You've given them the opportunity to pull you over. And so making them aware of all these different things that teenagers do, and these things are in the workbook, showing them how these things are, you know, out there, and how you need to learn the law, learn things that affect you as a teenager. And we have about 20 different things that teenagers need to know as far as the law. And like, these are universal things, you know, and so we do that. We do sexual awareness things, you know, no means no. And, you know, what if she's drinking and she touches you, but then you go to touch her back and she says no? That still means no. You know, so I mean, so a lot of times, well, she was touching me first. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So making them aware of these things, the things that kids take for granted. And so, like I said, that's as far as like civil, you know, we do some law things, we do the financial things. The schools don't do any of that. Some schools don't even want me to talk about sexual awareness at all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions from whether it's
I have a few questions though. I don't want to take too much time on that, but I do have a few questions. It may help, I mean, our viewers too. So you talk about the programs for kids and young men and also adults, but how about the people whoever have been exposed to the certain situation, certain environment? You know, they want to come out, you know, call clean, or, you know, they want to achieve, they want to do something in their life, right? They have been in their life for something, and then they want to come out. Are you working with that, or do you have any kind of programs for those poor people?
Things that when they want to come out?
Yeah, you know, they have been exposed to a certain environment, you know, I don't know, like drugs or any kind of environment. So now somehow, you know what, they want to come out. Even let's say in correctional officers or correctional places, there are people, they've been to, you know, arrested or for some kind of criminal. but they want to come out from that, they want to have a clean life.
But get a better life.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of our kids aren't that extreme.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that extreme where they've been in criminal justice system or juvenile detention centers. And as a matter of fact, I was just contacted a couple of weeks ago by an organization was telling me that I need to reach out to the juvenile system, criminal system, to work with kids who are in detention centers and, because again, they too would definitely benefit from it. But like I said, right now it's just me doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I said, I want to do this where I can teach people how to do it. And then they can run programs in Toronto. They can run programs in Florida, different states and different countries. They can run the program. And then I would do updated trainings or different things like that, come out and speak, do a keynote or something but I can't be everywhere. So I want to teach and be able to just give it away and give it out there so people can do it, because the more people doing it, the more young people that we can reach. And the juvenile system is one of the organizations that I've been told that I need to reach out to. I just talked to a friend of mine. She works in a boys detention center down in lower New York State. And she actually just gave the books and the information to her supervisor. So they're working on their budgets right now. And once they get their budgets, they're going to look at maybe either bringing me to do like a workshop with the kids or training someone to do the workshops for the kids. So, I mean, like I said, I'm looking at all aspects of it. I want, like I said, not just boys, but boys and girls, but boys have been my target because a lot of our young men are feeling so left behind right now, especially in the States where now you have a woman vice president. So now you see all these women coming to the forefront. Every time you turn on television, it's women, and it's not a bad thing because women have been neglected for so long, but a lot of our young boys who grew up in a female household, now all they see is everywhere they look is females. So when you tell a young man who grew up in a situation like that to be a man, he has no example. He has no, when you say be a man, a man doesn't cry. Be a man, act like a man. And everywhere he looks around him, he's being surrounded by women and sisters. Like I grew up with 3 sisters and a mother. But for me, because I had mentors and I hung around a lot of guys, I learned how to do some manly things, some of the things I need to do to become a man and do things. And my stepfather, he taught me a lot. But a lot of young men don't have those examples. So we have to get as many people involved as possible. And I try to normally get guys, not other men, to work with the young men, because so often you go to these men's groups or these men's organizations, and who do you have mostly running things? Women. So now you go from home where you got a mother and 3 sisters, and then you go to a program that's run by, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you're in a boys program or a boys group, but the person who's over the whole thing, you might be one man teacher or a couple men teachers, but it's women who are running the program. So we have to look at that. And a lot of times we don't look at that, if we're setting an example for the young men, but you have the women running it, even though you might have a man teaching it, but you have the woman, he got to go answer to the woman, or the woman, when he wants to do something, he has to go ask Miss Johnson, can we do it? Then he's saying, well, that's the same way it is at home. Whenever I want to do something, I got to go ask my mother, So we have to look at that and say, we have to find men that are willing to step up and take the leads, or even put in charge of some of these things that we have that are supposed to be helping young men. Because it doesn't really help them as much.
I think in the school, in everywhere, not only here in Canada, but there are schools, not many men. Most
men
of
teachers.
Most of them are teachers. So,
yeah, exactly.
That's
all women.
One of the problems too. Do you have kind of like a sponsor package, or how do you work with them? Like, let's say organization and different corporations, or how do you want to allocate? How do you want to work with them? Do you have kind of a different package, or how do you?
I have a curriculum outline, but what I do is what makes my program so different is that we gear it towards the organization. So we send you like our outline, and it gives you like about 10 topics or 10 areas. You could pick out 5 or 6 different areas that you think are most prevalent for your young men. And then we start with those and we incorporate that into the 6-week training. And then we can do another 6-week where we add different ones or expand on the ones that we're working on. So we allow you to kind of direct us because you know your population better than I do. That's why I said I want to find where I can implement this and give it to other people in different locations and let them run it, because they know the youth that they're working with better than I do. Me showing up and doing something, especially virtually, with a group of kids in a whole nother country, you know, they're not going to really relate to me. They hear what I'm saying, but they hear it from someone that they've been around and know is going to help them to comprehend that information. And that person is going to reflect what they're presenting to them too, because they're going to lead by example.
Absolutely. You need to have more facilitator in their own language. Yes. Or
so that's why I want to try to find ways where I can give the curriculum and they pay for the curriculum. I do the trainings, the books, they get the books and everything. And then I'm working with them, but they're running it. I'm just kind of, answering questions and, they contact me to find out, okay, well, we're dealing with this situation. How do you deal with it as far as the program?
Right. How about you said that you had, you have an 8 weeks program or 2 sets of program workshops. So is there any follow-up after they completed the program?
We haven't, like I said, that's why I want to set up this Facebook group. For the last 4 years, we've been at the same school working with basically the same kids. And they were like 5th grade up to 8th grade. So once they went into high school, unless they went to a high school where I was working, then they didn't get that follow-up. Whereas the high school that I was working, we just worked with those kids till they graduated. And then once they graduated, there was no follow-up. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to create the Facebook page. So this way, even over the summer, even once they graduate, they could join that Facebook group and still have some involvement, have some interaction, post questions, things that they're going through now that they graduated high school and have concerns about college. Because in the high school edition, we talk about college, historical Black colleges, as well as regular college, the benefits of college, the benefits of vocational training, the benefits of, getting a job. We have all that in the high school edition. So we try to cover all the aspects of what is it you're going to do after you graduate. Are you going to go to college? Are you going to get a job? Are you going to go in the military? Are you going to go to vocational school? Vocational school, which will take you anywhere from 6 months to 24 months to get a certificate and get a job paying $40,000, $50,000, or you want to go to college and go for 4 or 5 years and graduate and have student loans that you have to pay back and, still get $40,000, $50,000. So, giving them all the options to allow them to think about it and look at what would be best for them, because not every kid is meant to go to college.
Absolutely. So quickly, I have 2 questions. So are you planning to take, maybe, I don't know whether it is too early or not, but are you planning to take to the third world or developing countries though, since the program is very important or relevant,
I'm willing to go anywhere that people want me to come. I like to emphasize that because, like I said, if you could connect me to somebody that you think would benefit and they're willing to do it, then that's what I want to do. Like I said, I know I can't do everything, but if I can teach others how to do what I'm doing and give them the program and allow them to work and help young men, because the goal is to prepare young men for success, young people for success. And if we can do that, the more people we have doing it, the more young men we can reach.
Absolutely.
So I'm open to any and all opportunities.
Okay, because there's one person from Nepal. I don't know if he can hear, but there are people out there from different part of the world, especially from our network. They are watching or they will be watching. So it's very useful for that.
Email me. They can email me and I'll set up a Zoom. Email me and we set up a Zoom and have a conversation. and see what we can do. Because like I said, I'm open to all opportunities. Wherever there's young men and young women, you know, like I said, I want to work with whatever we can do to help these young people to become successful, because our young people need the help right now.
It can be translated into their own languages too in the future too, or, right? Absolutely. How about I think there's one particular area, I don't know whether is it covered in your book, or have you touched on that, fatherhood with the young men and the adults. Is there anything related to that topic in your workbook?
As far as fatherhood, what do you mean? For example,
to understand what are their responsibilities, and
we do a little bit of that under sexual awareness. The high school journal, I told you, when these people were interviewing me for this this program and that I interviewed for, they were asking me all those questions. And I said, no, that's middle school. We only do middle school. But I was writing down all the things they asked me about: fatherhood, college, vocational training, you know, laws, all those different things. And I was just writing them down. So when I got through with that Zoom interview, I created the high school edition, taking the information that they asked me, and I put it in here. So those things are in here. We talk about the awareness of, you know, unprotected sex and becoming a father, and being, you know, child support, or how to avoid, you know, fatherhood if that's not what you want to do. So it talks about all those different areas. And like I said, it's not a broad discussion, but it's statements and points that make them think and make them want to find out more about that area, you know. So it's all in the book.
Well, the leadership, the role model, or being, you know, a man in the house, so that you were talking earlier, you know, those are the things, not only sexual level.
When we talk about mentor, well, some of the things we don't put in the book, like mentorship, you know, so we talk about those things, you know, because again, we're finding, what is it you like to do? What is it you're interested in? And so then how do you find a mentor? So based on what your interests are, we're going to find out, okay, well, let's see who we know in the community or in the area that can mentor you in that area. See, now that would be hard to put in a book because everybody's going to be different. But that's why the book works so well, because certain things you're going to talk about in a group that you're familiar with that group. You know what I mean? So things that might be more familiar to a group of kids in Toronto may be different from a group of kids in the States. So because the book has certain specific areas they cover, you know, physical, personal, financial, but there might be certain specific topics that may only be more focused towards a kid in Toronto. So that's where you would fill in under those aspects, your part, you know, your experience. You know, that's why I say the benefits where, say for Savon, you be teaching the class, because you're familiar with that environment, you can relate to them. Me teaching it from the States, the kids will look at me like, what is he talking about? You know, because I'm not from that environment. I'm not experiencing certain things that they may experience. But when you talk about finances, you know, finances, you can do anything, but then there might be certain aspects of financing that you might talk about that only is relevant to, like all the different taxes that you guys pay in Canada, we don't pay here. So explaining to them that aspect of taxes and, you know, the government and all those things will be different. So you would take those parts and incorporate it into your program.
Yeah, especially the cultural aspect of it.
Yes,
that's what we have to understand, and then that's what we had to focus on that too.
Yeah. So the workbooks are just like a guide. You know what I mean? It's a guide, so that way they have something to go back on. It's kind of help you to guide to go through as to where you need to cover. But then the real program is run by whoever is in that area, and that's how I want it to be, where you can run it, but you have a guide, but you're basically running it and making it fit your situation.
Right. Thank you. Sorry to take you to.
That's okay.
Maybe we should just have had Sivam take over. But no, I mean, he had really good questions, which I think he covered it covered more things than we had a chance to cover. So thank you for that. So we're just gonna wrap up the show, or the webinar, sorry. And I just have a few more announcements to make. And thank you once again, Mr. Willie A. Price Speaks, for joining us today.
Did I speak enough for you?
Oh, you know what? You live up to your name, which is great, right? I would have been disappointed if you didn't live up to your name. So so thank you. And
Thank you.
honestly, it was very it's inspiring, just to hear that you saw this need and that you have worked so hard to meet it, and just to hear how successful the program is, and that you're really just trying to make sure that young boys and young ladies are successful in life, and that they don't have to, turn to crime or turn to whatever. And so just hearing how this program programs, all the different programs that you have operates, has been wonderful. So thank you for what you do, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. So just a few announcements. We do, here at Voice of Men 360, we do have 4 live weekly shows. We have Open Up, which is on Sunday, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's just a chance where we do have different guests that come on every week, and they just open up a little bit about their lives, and they talk about, what they're about, what has brought them to the point of where they are in their lives. And so that runs every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have this weekly webinar, which is every Saturday from 10:30 to normally 11:30, but honestly, sometimes we run later, and today's been one of those days, but we've learned a lot of knowledge, a lot of information has been shared. So sometimes it does go later than 11:30, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And then we also have Vili, which means I in English. So that's where also the same thing is opening up, sharing your personal life journey. And that's in Tamil, by the way. And it's a live talk show on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for people that live outside of Canada. And then we also have a panel discussion we try to do once a month in English and in Tamil. And so those dates are to be determined. And we do have podcasts that are available, Open Up, and we also have Vili. So those are ones that you can find and participate at your own convenience. And we did recently start a monthly men's group meeting, which started in January. We've done 2 so far. We have a 3rd one coming up on March 21st, which is Sunday, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's on addictions and awareness. So I hope you can register and that you will join us. And so we are always looking here at Voice of Men 360. We are always looking for new members or volunteers to join us. And so if you are one of those people, anybody can join us. There's no limitations to gender, to age, nationality, or ethnic groups. Oh God, I can't talk today. All walks of life can participate in our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows, or you're willing to be part of our organization and you want to help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. So we would love to work with any individuals or organizations, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, you name it. We are open to working with you. We can be reached by phone 437-889-8329. That's 437-889-8329. Or in our email address is info@voiceofmen360.org. That's info@voiceofmen360.org. And our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. And we are on social media. We're on Facebook, Voice of Men 360. We are on TikTok. We are on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. So we're pretty much everywhere. And it's all Voice of Men 360. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So thank you very much for taking your time to join us today. Thank you everybody for connecting with us. And we hope to see you again, Mr. Willie A. Price, and everybody that was on this platform. Thank you.